in, and let me share my screen. And unlike last week, where I promised to get you out at 12, and I didn't get you out until a little bit after 1, because of a little bit of the technical difficulties I had, and then also I just talked too much. We will be out of here at 1 o'clock. I'm not going to hold you guys up past 1. I hate it when people do that to me. So let's just jump right in and get going, and hopefully we'll get some interaction, and we'll learn some stuff. Okay, so again, I'm starting off with our COVID slide. Similar to those of you that participated in the farming class that we did last week, I'm not going to tailor anything we're talking about today to COVID or to lockdowns, or you guys have figured that out. We're all kind of working through how we're modifying our presentations. So there will be some things I very well may say that might currently be non-COVID compliant. So if that's the case, I'm going to rely on you to know what those are, and then you'll just need to modify your plan accordingly. All right. So we may address 1 or 2 COVID things that might be special or unique, or quite honestly, if I throw an idea out and you're like, wait a minute, Lance, I'm doing it this way because of the COVID thing, then great. Unmute yourself and let's share, and God forbid we have a little bit of dialogue. So like last week, same slide. I'm going to give you a ton of information, the old fire hose. We're going to proverbially try to put the 10 pounds of stuff into a 5-pound bag. So I am going to talk very, very fast, which I normally do anyway. So again, this is going to be high level stuff. So if you are looking for a little more detail, then stop me. I'll try to see what I can do to give a little bit more detail. But more than likely, we're just going to go high level, give you guys some ideas for you to implement them into your business plan at a later date. So we're going to err on the side of more content and maybe a little less deep dive. This is a slide, quite honestly, that we used last week at that Tom Ferry slide where I said, or Tom said, apparently, for the first time in almost 10 years, your skills will actually matter. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if Nick is on the call or not. I think Nick, I don't know who produces the calendar, but the calendar for today's class is listing presentation skills. And I actually noticed that last night. This is hopefully going to be a skills training class, as opposed to maybe something what you might be expecting, which, by the way, let me go 1 slide ahead. If you're expecting a CBX presentation, that's not what we're doing today. So I know a lot of my agents that when they see listing presentation internally at Coldwell Banker Town and Country, our listing presentation training for quite some time now has really revolved around, do you know how to use CBX? What does your presentation look like? Are you using CBX, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So we're not doing, this is not a CBX class. We're not doing that today. But for those of you that thought you were getting a CBX class, then guess what? Just be patient, because this is the training calendar that we're all working on. And on October 27th, Nick and Michael, and I've never seen Nick do a CBX class, but I certainly have seen Michael do a CBX class, and he kills it. So if you're looking for CBX, come back on the 27th. I guess that I said next week. That's not correct. I think it's 2 weeks from now. Come back on the 27th, and we will do, you'll get your CBX skill. I'm actually going to go up a couple of slides. I think I got myself a little bit out of order. So yes, okay. So real quickly though, and again, some of this will blend into CBX. My question to you is, how is your listing presentations? Okay. And what I mean by that is all listing presentations are not created equal. I would expect that for any of you that have been doing this business for any period of time, that you have multiple different listing presentations. Many of them may overlap with very similar or the same content. But if you're, for example, last week we did a class on farming. Okay. So if I have 2 farms, I have 2 different listing presentations. I have a listing presentation geared towards my Riverside Canyon Crest farm and everything that's important to everybody that lives in that farm. And then I have my second presentation, which is geared towards my second farm, which is not in Riverside and not in Canyon Crest. So if you own, which by the way, and I'm just either unmute yourself if you want or type something in the chat box. I'm going to assume, and by the way, I'm going to assume that nobody on this call actually has a formal listing presentation. Now, in this group, that's probably a bad assumption, but I would be shocked if most of you actually have one, because it's my experience when I do this class, uh, most agents don't actually have a listing presentation. It's so sad. And again, I'm sure Michael and I don't know if Nick's on the call or Vicky. I don't know if that's really Chuck sitting there looking at us or somebody pretending to be Chuck. But if I poll my agents, probably less than 15% of them actually use CBX as their listing presentation, which is horrible because the CBX is a fantastic program. But even within that, multiple different types of presentations. Hopefully, if you don't have a presentation when you're done, you'll take some of the ideas that we're going to go over today, and then you'll incorporate them into what Michael and Nick are going to do in a couple of weeks, or you'll incorporate them into your existing listing presentation through CBX or whatever you're using, and you'll go from there. So not today for the CBX, so let's get going. So this is I love this video. Yes.
Yeah, just a really quick, CBABR agents, we do all have a personalized virtual listing presentation. So excellent. They have something that they can get from marketing right now.
Excellent. Okay, so for everybody at Vicky's office, you already have it. Hopefully you're using it, which again is the secondary key, because I have a whole bunch of cool stuff that I don't use. All right, so you got to use this stuff. So this is critical, and take it, modify it, do what you want. But at the end of the day, we need a presentation. So enough about CBX. You can get that stuff later. Hopefully you're already using this. If you guys have sat through any presentations with me before, I am going to play this video real quick. This is the Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio version of Sell Me This Pen. It's about 60 seconds. So just bear with me, and we're going to kind of use this as to set the stage of what we're going to talk about in the next hour.
Sell me this pen. It's a amazing pen for professionals to sell me this pen.
It's a nice pen. You can use the pen to write down thoughts from your life so you can remember.
Sell me this pen.
Well, this pen works, and I personally love this pen.
Okay, so that's the very last scene in The Wolf of Wall Street, without a commentary on that movie. That is a very typical sales training tool that a lot of sales trainers use, in effect, to try to get their salespeople to understand there is a skill associated with selling. Okay. And by the way, I am proud to say I'm a salesperson. You know, a lot of people have the negative connotation of what salespeople are and what they do, but it's been my profession for 33 years now. But we need to agree there is a skill to this. So and by the way, if you've never seen that video, you might want to go back and even watch it again. I used that video, I think 2 or 3 years ago at our mid-year event in a totally different context, but it certainly applies to our listing presentation. So this is where I'm going to go with our talk today. Is the whole lesson behind that is, do not tell your clients what you're going to do for them. Do not tell your clients how great you are. Do not describe to your clients how great Coldwell Banker is, or how great your marketing is, or how your plan is better than other people's plan, because that's what most people do. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. My open house example, which some of you have heard before, is I'm holding an open house. I am the agent, of course. People come into my open house, and what do I immediately start to do? I start to describe the house to them, which is basically what's happening in the Sell Me This Pen story. Is I have a yellow Sharpie, pretty obvious. It has a cap. Yes, it has a felt tip. We are describing to the client what we think they want and what they're selling. So when we go through the open house, this is the living room, this is the kitchen, oh, look, it has a beautiful pool, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the story with the pen is, if you're selling the pen, you don't start off describing the pen. You talk to the client, and the first question is, oh, you're in my pen store. Are you in the market for a pen? Because just because you're in my pen store doesn't necessarily mean you're in the market to buy a pen. Maybe you were just passing by, maybe you just were bored. And then if you are in the market for a pen, then we start to go in, well, do you already have a pen, blah, blah, blah. So let's get the pen out of the way. Let's forget the open house out of the way, and let's bring it to what we're here to talk about today, which is your listing presentation. What most people do on a listing presentation, and by the way, this is where I think you need to be really careful if you have a canned presentation like CBX, because when you have a canned presentation like CBX and you have your 10 or 12 basic slides, and then you maybe added another 10 or 12 custom slides. Is somebody watching the waiting room? Because I notice I have access to the waiting room. So anyway, I'm going to let these people in that just tried to get in. Where was I? So I just lost my train of thought looking at the waiting room. So, the CBX presentation. I have my presentation. I've got my 15 or 20 slides or 30 slides, or if you're an animal, you're 55 slides. And you, God forbid, you go through the slides. You do your presentation, all right? And generally when you're doing your presentation, you are telling these people who you are. This is me. This is what I've done. This is my experience. This is my team. This is my brand. And you are basically describing and talking too much. And by the way, I'm in a room and Drake's sitting right in front of me, and he'll be like, Dad, you're the king of talking too much. Guilty as charged. But we really need to ask some questions. So for example, I have an inquiry on someone wants to list their house. You need to kind of ask the basic question. Oh, are you in the market to sell? That might seem obvious, but you very well can have people that call you that you think are in a listing, that are possible listings, that really aren't in the market to sell, or maybe they're not in the market to sell today. Well, yes, I am. Okay, well, how soon are you thinking about listing? So again, without going through the entire role play, there's just a series of questions that we want to talk to our possible seller about and let them tell us what they're interested in. I'll give you a simple example. If any of you have ever worked expired listings, and if you have, let's face it, expired listings don't necessarily exist right now because everything's flying off the shelf. But using an expired as an example, is those are easy in that you know they've been listed before. Oh, so I see you've been listed before. Great. Will you tell me a little bit about the experience? Let them tell you about the experience. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Were there certain things that the agent did that you felt were good? Were there certain things is there a reason you didn't list with the agent again? All of these questions are gold when it comes to trying to figure out where you're going to be with the client. So basic sales skills, ask as many questions as you can, and really try to avoid flipping through your CBX presentation slide after slide after slide. Are there going to be some cases where that is the best approach? Sure, okay. But generally every listing presentation is going to be a little bit different. And I would think that there's probably a few of you on this call that have a beautiful full-blown presentation, and maybe more than 50% of the time when you actually sit down in front of the client, the presentation never actually gets opened. It's just a dialogue. And the presentation is kind of sitting there if needed. All right. So, so that's just kind of where the theme I want to run with this. This is a skill. You do need to role play it. You do need to master it, or you will sound like a salesperson. And we don't want that. Even though I just told you I am a very proud salesperson, we do not want to fall into the, ooh, it really sounds like I'm being sold right now. Nobody wants to be sold, all right? We want to be kind of guided through a process and ultimately get to where we are. If you sound like you're, and I'll just speak for myself. By the way, salespeople are the easiest people to sell stuff to, all right? But we also don't like being sold. So you do have to practice this. If it sounds rehearsed, you're going to lose your client. It's just all there is to it. Okay, so again, same slide. I pulled this from our farming class. For those of you that were in our farming class last week, it's all about preparation, guys. This is all about preparation. Give you a real story. I got a phone call from one of my agents. Let me see if she's on the call right now, because I'm going to say horrible things about her. I'm going to make sure she's not here because, okay, she's not here. Good. I won't mention her by name, but if she was here, she would know who I'm talking about. She has a listing presentation today. Okay. I think it's right about now, actually. She called me yesterday morning, needed some help. No problem. I'm here to help. And this was a presentation. It was a little more difficult, unique property, some pricing issues, some things that made it a little more out of the box. And what she needed was preparation. Yesterday morning, she was not prepared for this listing. Greg, can you turn the air conditioner on? I'm cooking here. She was not prepared for the listing. The good news is she had basically 24 hours to prepare, which was more than enough time to prepare for the meeting. The bad news was her schedule didn't permit that. Her schedule did not permit her to do what was necessary to do to get prepared for this listing, and that's a problem. So there's probably a very good chance, although she's a pretty good agent, she may prove me wrong and come in here with a brand new listing in Mockingbird Canyon, Riverside, million plus, but who knows? But at the end of the day, she would also be the first one to say she was not completely prepared for the presentation. So everything that I'm going to talk about today, in my opinion, is preparation so that your listing appointment is guaranteed. Okay. No guessing. We cannot guess on, and by the way, you can apply this to every part of your business model right now. Listing presentation specifically, no guessing. Which, by the way, is one reason that we use presentations. This is one reason why we use a program like CBX, because the program has the 15 topics that you want to hit on. You don't want to forget them because you haven't practiced it, you haven't prepared, you haven't memorized it. Therefore, especially for brand new agents, we say, go to the presentation, go through it slide by slide, which is what I told you just not to do just a minute ago. But go through it slide by slide for a couple reasons. Number one, if you're nervous, it kind of keeps you on track. Number two, you forget things. Oh, crud, I forgot to talk about how great Coldwell Banker is and how many sales our company has and how many agents we have and what a great escrow team we have. So now I have a slide to remind me to talk about my team and how great our escrow service is, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I would suggest that that's great, but you have to have all that stuff dialed in. No guessing on your presentation, no winging it on your presentation. Have I winged it before? Of course I have. But the reality is, frankly, myself and a few of you on this call right now, we can probably get away with winging it. We've done it a long time. We know our presentation inside and out. And yes, I didn't have as much time to prepare. I'm going to wing it. But the reality is, this is not a market that you want to wing it. You do not want to wing it because the chances are probably pretty good somebody else might be out there that's not winging it. So again, and by the way, I'm not familiar with what exactly the Moxie part of CBX is, but again, it's more preparation. So no winging it, no guessing. We have to be completely prepared all the time. Slide from last week, we also have to be different. Be the purple cow. And in this particular example, be the prepared agent. Assuming they're going to interview, which by the way, so many of these customers don't interview with multiple agents. You guys know that, right? They don't. You know, you might be the first and only agent they called. Don't screw it up. All right. But you do need to be different. You need to be prepared. So this is the plan for today. The plan should be, once I actually get to the client's house and I'm ready for the appointment, the listing, the hard work is already done. They already know all that stuff. And this particular appointment is there to get the listing. Now you might say, well, how does that happen, Lance? You know, I haven't, I just met them and I'm showing up at their house, you know, today at noon. It's very rare in my experience that you meet somebody today and you actually have a full-blown listing appointment 3 hours later, okay? And by the way, when that does happen, most of those are not listing appointments, those are come list me appointments. And for those of you that have had those, you know what I'm talking about. A come listing appointment is somebody who calls you and says, hey, Stacy, I need my house listed. Can you come over today? Okay. Those are, I don't know why they called you, but they're motivated. They're going to list you. I'm talking about the average appointment where maybe the outcome is not quite determined yet. Maybe they are interviewing 2 or 3 other brokers. So you probably have a little bit of time. So what I'm going to focus on today is the time from the time you set the appointment to the time you actually go on the appointment and what you're going to do in between that time. All right. Now, if that time is compressed, there's a lot of things here that you won't be able to do because this basically assumes that you have a little bit of time. But we want the listing to be guaranteed. We don't want it to be fingers crossed, I'm going to get it. We're not looking for fingers crossed. If you go into a listing appointment with your fingers crossed, you're probably guessing, you're winging it, you're not prepared. All right. So let's make sure we're prepared, and we want to nail this thing, knowing going in that we're going to nail it because we've done all of our homework. Okay. So you want to brag a little bit about yourself, but I'm telling you, you need to be careful. So when you start saying how great you are, or you start saying how great Coldwell Banker is, all of those are true things. We want to make sure the client understands how great we are and how great our company is and how great our management team is and our brokers and our sales managers, et cetera, whoever you think they need to know. But I would suggest you be very, very careful. I personally don't believe a listing presentation is for you to go out and necessarily sell yourself. Sounds a little counterintuitive. And I could certainly make an argument, well, Lance, of course a listing presentation is for you to go out and sell yourself. I understand that, but I think you need to be very careful in how you do that. Now, this is Drew. That's my son. We're the Martin Group. And yes, we have just a great reviews and great sales and all the rest of it. That's not really the point of this brag page. But one of the things that you need, and by the way, we're probably going to go over maybe a dozen items. I guarantee you right now, when I get through my dozen items, there's probably a dozen more that I haven't mentioned. So if I haven't mentioned something, number one, if you think it's just glaringly obvious, Lance, how come you didn't say that? Unmute yourself or type it in the chat box. But just know there's just not enough time in a 1-hour presentation to go over everything. So I picked out what I think are the important ones. Now, we could talk for hours about Zillow. Love them, hate them. They're now a brokerage company. They're taking listings. If you go onto Zillow's page right now and you do his estimate, the question, boom, right in your face is, would you like us to buy your house right now? So we're not going to talk about that, but we are going to talk about the fact that the consumer goes there. So as part of and by the way, a lot of what I'm going to talk about applies to everything we do, not just a listing presentation. But if you do not have a rock star Zillow profile, boy, oh boy, could be strike 1, could be strike 2, could be strike 3. You might just be out of business. I know Chuck on his business planning thing has a little checklist. I'm going to review your social media profiles. I'm going to review this. I'm going to review, and he kind of scores you on a 1 to 10. This is a similar type of a thing. Okay. So you need to look at how you are reflected on Zillow. Now, if you're a brand new agent and you don't have any reviews and you don't have any sales, do the best you can to build that. But you do also need to be prepared in the event your client mentions Zillow and the fact that you have very little or no presence. You cannot just do the, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You have to be prepared for that. So Zillow profiles, critical. Make them look as beautiful as you possibly can. But I also would be very careful to be too much in a braggadocious way. This is Drew, my son, our Martin Group, the number 2 agent in unit sales in the country. Very unlikely I probably would ever mention that in a listing presentation. In most listing presentations, would not be the type of thing I would put up front. But if I'm dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Seller, where all I keep hearing about is, well, why would I list with you? Because Joe Smith is the number 1 in sales, and he has more volume with him. And he said his market share in the office is number 1, and he said that Coldwell Banker is number 2. In that case, then I might say, okay, let me pull the sandbag out from underneath the table, and I'm going to hit him over the head and say, well, yeah, that's what Joe says, but let me show you, because this appears as though this is important to you. And because this is important to you, let me share with you, this is who we are, okay? Some clients, you may never bring it up. And frankly, I would say probably on more than 50% of the clients, you may never bring it up. Okay, this is a commercial for Coldwell Banker. Chris Leeper, Moreno Valley office. He's always the #1 agent in the office, if not #2, #1. Last year he was #2. Congratulations, Rachel. But point being with this is I'm not going to click through on this unless somebody wants me to do, by the way, if we have any volunteers that are willing to put their neck out, unmute yourself and we'll do a quick little live demo. But this is Chris. I did a Google search on Chris this morning. Search Chris Leeper, Google search. #1 item on Google is Chris Leeper's coldwellbanker.com page, the company Coldwell Banker page. I love that, as you know, Chris is, for lack of a better word, broker, owner, or manager, even though I'm not the broker anymore. I love that, but I got to tell you, Chris loves it, but it also frustrates him. Why does it frustrate him? Because he actually, his #2 search is realtor.com, or #2 on the results from Zillow or Google is realtor.com. Well, he pays to get onto realtor.com. He pays to get onto Zillow. He pays for his own website. He pays for all these other sites. His #1 result, and this is one reason why, if you do not have a rock star website presence through Coldwell Banker or whatever, and by the way, it has to be through Coldwell Banker, because the only reason that Chris is showing up as #1 with the Coldwell Banker site is because it's Coldwell Banker and all of the juice and all of the power and everything that goes behind that. So you have to have a great site.
Hey, Lance.
Yes.
When I just Googled my name, I came up as Coldwell Banker. That's my #1 search. This is Coldwell Banker.
And for those of you that are brand new to our brand or brand new to our company, you're not, if we associate you right now and we get you your coldwellbanker.com website, and then 2 days later you go in and you do a Google search, your name is not going to pop up as #1, but it will. #1, it takes a little time. It's been my experience. It takes somewhere 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But you also have to, this cannot be one of those things where you set it and forget it. You've got to basically get on that website. You have to promote that website. You have to put notes on that website, put a video on that website, and you will end up as #1. Now, again, why is this important on a listing presentation? Because you have to assume that these people are checking you out, okay? Is this something that I would actually present on a listing presentation? Probably not, okay? But I might have it in my back pocket, and I certainly want to know what my website looks like, and I want to make sure I'm good there. This is just a social media post. Make sure your social media post is, or whatever your presence is. Again, this is something I see Chuck's picture. I don't know if that's really Chuck or somebody. Chuck, is that you? Or somebody logged in as Chuck? Chuck, say hello if that's you. Okay, it's not. Either that or he's busy.
I don't know if that it is, but there's a question here too, Lance.
Oh, go ahead. Fire away, Vic.
Okay, it says, when you have a name that is very popular like mine, her name is Jennifer Peterson, it is way more challenging to get top search in Zillow and Google.
Yep. Yeah, and it is, and frankly, it's a lot easier with the unique names. But Jennifer, I don't know how long you've been with CB, but I would say keep at it. And when you're doing those search over a year, okay, so over a year is good. I just told you it might take 6 months or less. I don't want to jump onto the site without your permission, but if you're doing everything that you need to be doing and you've truly spent some time on the Coldwell Banker website and made it yours and promoted it, you will rise up in those searches. You absolutely will. But I have I didn't think I had a fairly common name, but there's a guy named Lance Martin who's always been one step ahead of me for 25 years. And every time I go to get a domain, boom, he's a musician in Nashville or some nonsense like that. So I'm constantly doing battle with that guy. So make sure your profiles look good on your websites. Make sure your social media presence is top notch. Okay, top notch. I have a lot of feelings about social media. I think we also need to be careful. It does amaze me, some of the stuff that I see on Facebook posted by, quite honestly, some very top agents. I sit back, maybe I'm an old guy, maybe I'm not getting it. I sit back and say, okay, that's interesting. Who's your audience? Is that working for you? It appears to be working for them because these agents are doing well. But you need to have a fantastic social media presence. This is just another post about Coldwell Banker Global Luxury, and again, this is a bragging point. You know, how many units we've done, how many sides over $1 million, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're great. Look at us. This is the Coldwell Banker site. I'm using this more as an example to your site. Make it look rock star. It has to be fantastic. And by the way, use those tools. This is the site on the Coldwell Banker site that we all, which by the way, this will get you business. If there's anybody on the call right now that wants to unmute themselves or type in the chat box, if anybody has received a lead, which ultimately turned into a buyer or a seller through the Coldwell Banker corporate site, let me know. And if nobody's going to answer to that, I can tell you, I have dozens of agents in my office that get leads regularly directly from Coldwell Banker on their site. Okay. But if you haven't done this in a while, go to coldwellbanker.com, go to the Find an Agent section. Maybe don't search your name right away. Maybe search your office or search a city. See where you show up. Is your picture what you want it to be? Is your video, what is your bio, what do you want it to be? This is critical stuff. Are the phone numbers correct? Are the emails, the contact information correct? You have to look at that stuff, and you must use this stuff. Use the global luxury stuff, guys. Every single listing I take, I don't care if it's well, it's kind of hard to find a $200,000 condo anymore, but I don't care if it's the lowest of the lowest property, which would never in a million years qualify for a global luxury property. It's again, I may not bring it up specifically in my presentation face-to-face, which by the way, I'm getting to right now. I'm going through some tools. I'm going to get to how we're going to communicate these to our possible listings, but it's in every presentation I have. Every presentation I have at least addresses that we do global luxury stuff. To me, it's a no-brainer. If I own a $300,000 entry-level house in whatever city that happens to be in, if the agent I list with says, oh, by the way, we sell more houses over $1 million in the United States than any other company, even though I know that I don't fit into that category, to me, it's an easy leap. And the leap is, well, geez, if you can sell those houses, you certainly can sell my $300,000 house in Desert Hot Springs or whatever it happens to be. So use those tools. Use the statistics. Use the, what do we call the quotables? This is how many units we've done. But again, be careful how you get to that. If you haven't checked your profile on Realtor.com, which Realtor.com has kind of become the stepchild of the industry, guys, every one of you guys have a profile on Realtor.com right now. And I bet 50% of the people on this call haven't seen it, and you may not even have a headshot over there. So go check it out, which by the way, something I may never bring up in a listing presentation. Utilize Zap, okay? We're not gonna do a class on Zap. Figure out what that is, go through it. Utilize Social Ad Engine. If you're not utilizing Social Ad Engine, I would ask why, or what are you using that's better than Social Ad Engine that is getting the results? I'm not saying Social Ad Engine is the best way to go, but it might be a nice way to go on that listing presentation. This is what I'm capable of, and this is what I'm doing, or what I've been doing for my other clients. You got to have a YouTube channel. This is our company YouTube channel. You have to be YouTube friendly. You have to be video friendly. And again, I can't see exactly which office everybody's from, but I know if you're in Chuck and Margaret's office and you've got to have access to Adam, and all Chuck does is pound, 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 we must be using video and taking advantage of video, then you're ahead of the game. If you're in his office and you're not doing that, then ask yourself why. But you must be video friendly. Your YouTube channel needs to be rock star caliber, good quality stuff. If you don't have great videos, then steal them from somebody else and get those videos. I tell all the agents in my office, you don't have to do a shared link. If you like, hey, Lance, I really, really like that video, and it's the commercial, this and that, I want to post it on my site, but I want to do it directly. Fine, I'll send you the actual raw data on the video. You can put your face on the front, put your header, put your foot, or whatever you want to do, send it out. But you've got to have a rock star media presence. It's certainly in the form of YouTube. It's critical. I'm not going to play this video. Actually, I will play it. Let me just play it, and then I'll turn the sound off so we don't have to listen to it.
That's pretty much it. Great house, great neighborhood.
That's great.
Sam's still getting
Hold on a minute.
the idea of moving.
There we go. So this is one of the Coldwell Banker Hoops video. I think this is 2 years old. We took this video and we just put a simple tag on the back, Coldwell Banker Town and Country. The voiceover comes up, Coldwell Banker Town and Country. You all need this, okay? You need something. This is, I like this because this is super professionally produced. This is the national branded commercial. And again, if you see, we've got the Town and Country with our 800 number, et cetera. I think every agent needs that. I think we paid $500 for that, but heck, you can do it on your own. They don't like you to do that, but do it on your own. Get it over to your graphic people. You guys need a video and by the way, this is just a video. This is the national commercial. I'll put this one on mute as well, and I'll just talk over it. This is some stuff that we do, agent interviews. That's Drake and our agent Dwayne Sanders. Kind of a more personal sit down stuff. So if I'm Dwayne, okay, this is what is this? This is an 8-minute long video. We can argue whether or not, oh, Lance, that's too long. Why did you make such a long video? You broke all the rules. Okay, we broke the rules. The video is too long. But anyway, this is an 8-minute long video on Dwayne. So if Dwayne has a listing presentation this afternoon, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and by the way, if you guys haven't gotten connected the dots yet, let me start connecting the dots. One of the things that Dwayne is going to get to that potential prospect before the listing appointment is a link to this video, okay? Before Dwayne hits the appointment, Dwayne needs to, in some form or another, get this video to that particular client, all right? And we all need this stuff, guys. You all need these personal videos. Some of you may already have them. If you have them, I would suggest that, Lance, I just did one. It's great. I have a feeling you're going to look back at it 2 months from now and you're going to want to change it. So do another one. But these videos are critical. This is another one of Rachel in our office. It's the same type of thing. So if Rachel has that listing appointment Saturday at noon, Rachel's getting a link to this video to that seller in advance. Oh, and by the way, let me go back up here. And I told you be careful about how you brag. But let's suppose this is your profile and you think, for whatever reason, that this particular seller it's going to be important that they know that I have a presence on Zillow. Maybe somebody who I'll use Stephen Amaya as an example. Many of you know Stephen. Stephen's a friend of mine, used to work in the office. He's doing fantastic, basically running his own operation. He's a killer on Zillow. So in preparation, if I was going on a listing appointment in a neighborhood where Stephen has a sign, okay, maybe he has a sign that's 3 doors down from my appointment, I'm going to assume that maybe my seller has looked at his Zillow stuff because his Zillow stuff is good, okay? And as a preemptory strike, prior to the listing appointment, I am somehow, email, letter, text, whatever, going to get that appointment a link to my Zillow profile. Never, of course, mentioning my competition, but I want them to know, hey, I think this might be important to them. So I'm going to get that information to them. I'm going to get them my website. I'm going to get them some social media information. I'm going to send them our stats. Especially, by the way, this is a no-brainer if the property is in what we might consider the global luxury category, then you absolutely positively 100% need to be getting them the global luxury stuff. And again, I do the little brag book there. Okay, so where was it? Global luxury, premier numbers, realtor.com, went past Zap, social ad engine. Okay, so the Yelp page, excuse me, the YouTube page, it has to rock. I think Yelp is a highly underutilized area right now for our agents to advertise. If that's something you never looked at, I would suggest you look at it. If you have no presence, be careful. Be careful there. You might want to get a presence. So we did the commercials. So these are, okay. I have completely fallen in love with Linktree. Many of you guys are using Linktree. To me, this is a no-brainer, okay? Linktree, unless they changed it, is $6 a month. And by the way, this is one of the golden nuggets of today. So if you're like, wait a minute, I haven't really learned anything yet. $6 a month. I don't drink coffee, but I think that's about what a cup of coffee at Starbucks costs, all right? You need to get an individual Linktree. Matter of fact, we have many Linktrees in our office. I think we have 5 or 6 of them right now. This particular Linktree, which by the way, if you're not familiar with what it is, it's basically a text that we can text to a client. It has a link on it, and that link has other links of things that we think might be interesting for that particular client, all right? And we all know that texting right now is if not the number one source to communicate with our clients. Nobody likes to pick up their phone because they're getting too many spams. They occasionally check email, but not as often as we'd like. But at least for now, we still got the text abilities. So get yourself a Linktree link. Now, this is one that we use for recruiting, but this could be a link that you specifically set up for listings and listings only. And the cool part about this is so easy to customize. So this is a live link. Now this would be one I would send to an agent that says, hey, look at Coldwell Banker Town and Country, please consider coming to work for us. So let's just put it in a little different context. Let me click on the link real quick. And by the way, what I'm suggesting is you guys get your own link tree, set it up. It's super, super easy, and send your listing presentation, which by the way, you could also send this to your buyers. You could send it to your past clients. There's just an endless number of people that you could send this to. Send it to them, and it has links. Well, hello, I'm not going to click on this one, but this is a video from our recruiter. This one's wiggling, why Coldwell Banker Town and Country. This one, you could customize this and say, Mr. 123 Main Street, Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house, click here for information. They click on it, and this basically is your listing presentation, okay? Now, in this particular case, this isn't a listing presentation. This is a recruiting presentation, and they click through it, and they basically now have all of the bullet points that you may or may not want to share to that particular individual for that particular listing. And you can customize this specifically for them, okay? And by the way, this is a different program. This is called FlipSnack, which actually does the presentation stuff. But I am a huge fan of Linktree. By the way, I'll just click on one other link. They want to do business planning. So this is an agent says, hey, I want to do business planning. You're not going to send them to a business planning video. You're going to send them to your life of an escrow, or you're going to send them to your video of you on the golf course talking, or maybe the golf course is not a good one. You saw Dwayne was on the golf course. He's okay projecting that. You might think that's a little too casual for certain clients. So I absolutely am a huge fan of Linktree. It is a wonderful project for you guys to use to market your listings. And again, what I'm saying is to send this prior to your listing presentation. Give them your entire presentation before you get there. Now, will they read all of it? No. Okay? They're definitely not going to read all of it. They might not read any of it. But if the link comes across, oh, that's interesting. Lance just sent me something, and wow, that's interesting. This may be all you need is a stupid little professionally sent text that has some information about you, whether they read it or not, okay? And by the way, I do truly suggest, I'm sorry, clicked on the wrong screen there. I truly suggest you send your entire presentation to them in advance, including, and again, there may be some managers or some brokers here that disagree with this, so do whatever your manager says. Tell them what you think the house is worth, okay? Now, as a general rule, we have, as trainers, have said, oh my God, never tell them what the house is worth. We want to save that for the very end. If that's your style, and if that's what you use as the close, or if you think, well, geez, I already told them what I think it's worth, there's no reason for them to meet with me. If that's how you feel, fine, then don't do that. Leave that part out. I will tell you, I've done it for years. And by the way, if a seller asks me, let's suppose I'm on a presentation, because this is old school real estate. Again, I'm 54 years old. I've done this since I was 19. This is the way I was taught. This is the way a lot of agents are taught today. I'm on a listing appointment. I get there. The first, hey, Lance, this is great. I'm so glad you made it. So you've done your research. So what do you think it's worth? We are taught as salespeople to deflect that question, right? We are going to deflect it. And we're going to go, well, let's go take a look at the backyard first. And let me put my briefcase down. And, oh, I have all that information. I'm going to cover all of it. We deflect it. All right. And by the way, I've done plenty of deflecting. I'm not quite ready to share the price with you now. Just hold on. I'll give it to you when I'm ready. All right. I have found that consumers find that annoying. Okay. I just think they find that annoying. If I come in as a consumer and I want to buy something from you and you have information and I ask you a question and you don't answer it, I don't like that. I want you to answer the question. So if you choose to deflect it once, so be it. I would suggest, however, if you do deflect it once and you're waiting till you get to your end of your presentation, if they ask you again, I think you are in deep water if you deflect it a second time. I really do. But that's your own business model. You take it accordingly. So I love Linktree. You need to get this information to them as quickly and as early as possible.
And Lance, can
Yes.
you have multiple Linktree accounts? Nikki
Yes,
wants.
we actually currently have several. Matter of fact, let me share this with you real quick. Let me escape out of this. And let me come over here. Okay, so these are the link trees that we currently have in the office. And by the way, guys, the learning curve on this is so simple. It's so easy to set these up. So this is our Coldwell Banker Town and Countries. This is the one that for us is agent facing. So if you're an agent, I have a few of our agents here in the office. If you're an agent at our office, you see this because we send this out a couple times a week. So we can come in, we create all the little links. It's taking a second to render. Over here on my right side, it'll actually render what it looks like on your phone here in a second. I don't know why that's taking a minute to do it. Okay, so there it is. So this is a link tree that we currently have. This is generally not something we send out to the public. So we have that one. So to answer Vicky's question, well, can we have more? Yes, let me come over here, click on that. This is our recruiting link tree. So the first one is agents that already work for us. The one I'm going to show you now, quite honestly, is the one that I just showed you in the presentation. This would be a link tree that I would send to, hey, you're thinking about joining Coldwell Banker Town and Country. Cool. And then, by the way, it's the same exact concept. It's not a listing appointment, which is what you guys are looking for. This is a recruiting appointment, which is what we're looking for on the management side. So if I have a agent prospect who's thinking about coming in, or they're thinking about coming in, or better yet, I have an appointment scheduled. They're meeting me tomorrow. They get this text from me. They get this text in advance, and it has all my stuff on it. It says exactly who we are. We have another one for our property management team. So bringing this back to you guys, you could have a link tree for a listing presentation number 1 in this particular neighborhood, presentation number 2 in this neighborhood for past clients. Maybe they have similar data, but maybe there's something specific that you have that's different data. So yeah, they're $6. You can have as many as you want. And they're $6 a month, unless they changed. And I don't know, I'm sure some of you are using that. Is it still $6 a month for Linktree? Can someone answer that in the group? I know a few of you guys are using this product, right? Okay, well, maybe not. Okay, so Linktree I love. By the way,
Yes,
I know it's old.
that's $6.
Oh yeah, Courtney, $6. You got it, and you love it. Yeah, everything I said is true. Just listen to Courtney if you didn't believe me. By the way, I still email all my clients. This is just a real email. And by the way, I don't really sell anymore. Drew and Drake are the face of the Martin Group. That's our team. I just kind of, I do what I do. But this is an email that we sent to a real client. It's a real client. You could read it. You might even find some grammatical problems in there. This is a real email. And by the way, if you notice, it says, we think it's time to sell Quapaw. I'm thinking we can get $335. Okay, right there, boom, right in the email. Telling you what we think it's worth. We're not holding it back. And by the way, this email doesn't show it, but guess what's attached on, or maybe it's not on this email. Maybe it's on a separate email. Well, what is it? What are you talking about, Lance? Well, maybe on the separate email, I'm sending them my agent video. Okay. Oh, by the way, I know I just sent you an email with the CMA. I thought you might be interested in taking a look at some of the marketing that I do. And here's a link to some marketing. Oh, I know we're going to meet tomorrow, but I thought you might want to get a little more information on Coldwell Banker before we meet. So here's a link to the latest Coldwell Banker commercial. Oh, I know we're going to meet tomorrow, which by the way, if your Yelp page sucks, obviously we're not doing that. I know we're going to meet tomorrow, but I have a ton of stuff and I'm very, very happy and proud of what we've done on our YouTube channel here at Coldwell Banker Town and Country and the Martin Group. And these are some testimonials from some other clients, which by the way, yes, get the testimonials, get them on video, send those to your listing appointment before, right? No brainer stuff. But I think maybe all I'm really suggesting that might be different than what some of you are already doing is you need to get this to the client before you get there. They're probably not going to read it. Oh yes, we do some social ad engine stuff. Oh yes, here's our realtor.com profile. Oh yes, by the way, here's some information on global luxury. I know you're not a luxury property, but so this is all that sort of information. This is the stuff that we want to get to them. Now, you can email it to them, you can text it to them. I don't know, do we have one of those? Drake, go grab me that presentation box and one of those hardbound folders, those black ones we do. Drake's going to get me a prop. I'll show that to you guys in a minute. So we want to get them that information. The market forecast. You guys know I do a market forecast every year. You guys know I'm not in the market forecast business. Now, but if you're in my office, you're not allowed to answer this. I have $100 bill. I don't have it with me. I will have to find a way to get it to you. The first person who can tell me what I'm doing right now wins $100. Either unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. $100. Don't be shy. What is Lance Martin doing right now? Teaching a class. Wrong. Yes, I am, but nope. By the way, you are correct, but you don't win $100. What is my purpose? Not what your purpose is. What am I doing here? Thinking of the future. Yeah, okay, but wrong. Teaching a class. Nope. Come on,
Marketing
guys.
for a company.
No. Close, but wrong. Encouraging. No. Yes, but no. Motivating. Researching. Nope. By the way, don't look at the market forecast. What is this? What am I doing? Researching. Okay, I'm going to do 3. Come on, guys. Somebody. I got $100. Okay, let me ask you a question. Let's put a little different context. What I'm standing, smart ass. I love it. Okay, and I'm not selling my. Okay, stop. We're going to give you. Let me give you a couple of. Actually, don't stop. Keep coming if somebody gets it right. When you get up to work today, I don't care what you do. Go to the office, you do a social media post. I'm still looking, selling a pen. I like Bob. You know what? If no one gets it right, Bob Taylor's going to win. Okay, I will give it to Bob just because I like that. That's my favorite answer. That's my favorite wrong answer so far. Okay, what are you guys doing every day? And I'm not talking specific. What is your goal every single day when you get up and go to work?
Sell yourself.
Prospecting.
Okay. All right, forget the trick questions. All right, who said prospecting? Who said prospecting?
Don Langer.
Don. Okay, that's about the closest answer we got. Don wins the $100.
Oh,
this is prospecting. Now, the real answer I was looking for me, I am recruiting and I am retaining. All right. Now, don't misunderstand me. We don't recruit Coldwell Banker to Coldwell Banker. We don't do that. But when I'm doing a Zoom call or when I'm doing a training call or when I do a 2020 real estate market forecast, it has nothing to do with putting out a market forecast. It has nothing to do with that. It has 2 objectives and 2 objectives only. I want to recruit people that come to that, non-Coldwell Banker agents, and I want to retain the agents that I have right now. So Stacy, for example, and by the way, Stacy, you should have won the $100, but you would have exempted anyway. So Stacy works in my office. Stacy, this is not training. You think it's training. My whole goal is retention. My goal is to retain Stacy so that she sees value at Coldwell Banker Town and Country and she stays here. So you guys are going to put in a little different value. I'm recruiting and retaining from your perspective. Let's bring this back to a listing presentation. You can use the same words. You are recruiting prospects who want to list with you, and you are retaining people who have already listed with you. And everything you do every single day, it works towards that, which is why, who did we say won the money? Who did I say was getting the money? Because a couple of people have said prospecting, and I don't think they were the one. Who? Oh, Don. Okay, Don. So Don, you're the winner. So this is prospecting. This is prospecting. And by the way, let's go back. This email is prospecting. This text message is prospecting. This video is prospecting. It's all prospecting. The Yelp page, the YouTube channel, the ad engine, everything we're doing. When we post something on Facebook, right? It says, hey, I just sold a house. It's prospecting. Recruiting new sellers to you and showing the current people you have, retaining the current people you have that says, hey, look at what Vicki does. Vicki, I think Vicki just a day or 2 ago posted a nice little thing. I just opened an escrow or just closed an escrow or something like that. So if I'm one of Vicki's clients, that's a retention tool. Oh, look at Vicki, she's still in the business. And she just sold an escrow and look how good she's doing. Oh, that house is beautiful. And you're thinking about selling? You need to call Vicki. because she's retained us. Or if somehow I'm in Vicky's sphere, but I've never done business with her, she's recruiting me to become a listing. So it's all about the prospecting side. So Don, put in the chat box how I can get you your money, and I'll send you $100 here. Okay, so we got the video part, we've got the email part, market forecast. Again, it's all the same stuff. Okay, so you know, I'm not trying to get too deep here, but the presentation, or in this case, the before the presentation, is the key to this entire thing. So this is the butterfly effect. If you guys are familiar with the butterfly effect, it's, you know, basically everything you do or ever done, or you know, the butterfly flaps its wings and it causes a hurricane, you know, a million miles away or 1,000 miles away, whatever it happens to be. So what I'm suggesting is everything you guys are doing every single day is ultimately going to lead to the success or the failure of getting that next listing appointment. It's accumulation. It's accumulation of the social media posts. It's accumulation of the videos you're posting, of your website, whatever it happens to be. There you go, Don. Oh, you're in mom. You're in Chris and Phil's office. Excellent. So I'll tell them you won the money. So you're buying lunch next week apparently. So everything you're going to do is ultimately going to lead to ultimately the best listing presentation that you have. Now, how much time do I have? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to talk really fast because I can't believe it's already 1 o'clock. Okay, so last week we talked about farming. Okay, if you're farming correctly, you don't have a listing presentation. You have a come list me call. Okay, so if you're farming, what should ultimately happen? You've already done your listing presentation. Your listing presentation is done, and it's been done every single day, week, month, and year that you've been in there. It's done. They already know you. They already have your stuff. Hey, Lance, come list my house. It's a no-brainer. You got to know your competition on listing appointments. Especially if you know, it's very hard to know who else is out there, but know your competition. It's critical. The NAR buyer's profile. I don't have time to go through this, but did I not do it on this page? Oh, wrong. I put it on the wrong page. I'm going to go back here. This NAR buyer's profile, I will click on it really fast. Page 31 to 36. You guys all have this. If you don't have it, send me an email. I'll send you a link with it. All right. Page 31 to 36 has fantastic information on, let me just get down to one of those pages really fast. Really fast. I have blank screen. You guys probably have a blank screen too. It's trying to load. But while I'm getting there, you guys all need this. Why do you need this? Okay, I just stopped on page 37. All right. You need this because you're going to send this to your seller. Okay. So this is going to be one of those things. You're going to text this, maybe not this one, but you're going to text this slide, this graphic, this information. You're going to send them a DM. You're going to email it to them. You're going to drop it on their porch. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. You're going to send this to them. Why? Because this is telling you the location of homes that are being purchased in the region. You're the expert. This is where the buyers are coming from, and I happen to know that. And you're going to build your level of credibility every single time that you do that. Get this. This is 100 and God knows how many pages. There's 50 pages in there that you can pull out in different listing presentations. They're fantastic. This comes from Keeping Current Matters. Exact same thing. There's tons of stuff. You should be sending your sellers before the appointment. Okay, I'm going to close with this because I promised I'd get you out at 1. Okay. We're not talking commissions, because that gets us in trouble. Having said that, I'm going to briefly talk commissions. So for those of you that said, Lance, I want to role play. I'm going to listen to a presentation. And what do I do when they say, will you list my house for X? And maybe X is different than what you wanted. I'm going to end where we start. And by the way, I have another 30 minutes to go through. So you guys are missing at least a third of my presentation. There's no guessing allowed on your listing presentation. So what I mean by that in the context of commissions, you should have a business plan. That business plan says, this is how much I am worth. This is my value. And in this particular price range, this is what I list and sell properties for. This is whatever that number is, okay? This is my percentage. Maybe on a higher value property, maybe it's a different number. Maybe on a lower value property, it's a different number. Maybe in my farm, it's a different number. So this is the deal. You need to know the number before you go on the appointment. If you don't know what the number is before you go on the appointment, you do what so many agents do. They get into the commission conversation and they freeze. They absolutely freeze because they're not prepared to answer the question, okay? And the question may be, oh gosh, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I hope that's not a problem, because my business plan basically says on a property like this in this particular neighborhood, and these particular circumstances, this is what I would list your property for. Is that okay, or can we move on, or do we have a problem? But if you know, and by the way, that may be a deal killer, and it may cause further conversation, but every single piece of your presentation you need to know. So I'm going to just blast through the rest of this real quick, give you guys some stuff to think about. You got to be an expert. You have to know every single blade of grass on that, every single blade of grass in the neighborhood. If you get to a presentation and they ask you about a house that sold 2 blocks over and you don't know what that house sold for, you're sunk. You need to know all of it, okay? You need to know your market numbers. You need to know all of that sort of stuff. Okay, I'm going to stop there. That's Alfred. Okay, guys, is there anything left in the chat box?
Not really any questions, but maybe we can open it up if you want, Lance.
Yeah, well, I've got time. I mean, we're a minute late, so if anybody wants to throw any last-minute comments out there.
What about Bob Taylor and his answer, selling a pen? Well, I thought you were going to give him some kind of prize.
What was that? You lost me, Vicki.
Remember when you asked, what are you doing? And Bob Taylor said, selling a pen.
Oh, Bob wants a prize. You know what, Bob? I'll tell you what, Bob, we'll give you the second prize. You know what the second prize is? Good answer. Yeah. What happens when you don't get the listing? What's second place get? Nothing. Nothing. So that's the old Cadillac and steak knives, baby. First place gets the Cadillac, second place gets, I'll tell you what, Bob, I will send you a set of steak knives. How's that sound? So that's if you haven't.
I'd like to say too, because you know, I'm primarily a listing agent, and I have to tell you what you said about getting that listing presentation. You need to have one. You don't, like you said, you don't want to brag on yourself, brag on your company. That's what that listing presentation does for you in advance, with all of the data, all the information that they're looking for. So they're going to pick and choose what's really important in the listing presentation, whether it's virtual or the CBX. You can actually send a CBX now. I used to just drop it off on the doorstep, what you're showing right there.
Look at you, Vicki. Okay, so for those of you that still love like real stuff, this is one of our many presentations in the office. It's bound, cover bind, does a beautiful job, color printed, double sides, hard cover, cut the Coldwell Banker, you guys can see it, Coldwell Banker logo on there. You guys should be dropping off stuff. Okay, I don't know if they're, you guys, anybody have any? These are the old Coldwell Banker Global Luxury boxes. Cool stuff. If you really want to make a presentation and you have time, take your presentation along with maybe a few other things, put them in this beautiful, by the way, I think these boxes are like 18 bucks a piece. Put it in the box and have it FedExed to them, or personally drop it off. Hey, I know our appointment's not for 2 more days, but I was in the neighborhood. Actually, I wasn't in the neighborhood. I made a special trip over here. I wanted to present you with, frankly, the presentation that we're going to be going through in 2 days. If you have some time, take a look at it. I'm telling you, that alone can get you a listing. Nobody's doing this except for Vicki, right? This, I don't know, this probably doesn't come across very nice on the video, but these are super slick, basically presentation boxes. They're fantastic. We're salespeople, folks. We're salespeople. God forbid you're just doing a CMA out of CRMLS, right? And you staple in the corner, you put the little staple in the corner. Oh boy, that's trouble. All right. Anything else?
The other